The next most serious problem confronting the United States following the removal of the offensive missiles from the island of Cuba was the continued deployment and assembly of the Soviet Beagle IL-28 bomber. This particular bomber could carry a bomb load in excess of 6,000 pounds to ranges out near 600, to a radius of about 600 nautical miles. It could reach key target areas in the southeastern United States. 42 of these unassembled bombers were delivered to the island of Cuba. During the next few days and weeks, we observed with high and low altitude photography the progress of the Soviets and the Cubans in assembling these particular bombers. As I mentioned earlier, at San Julian Airfield, 33 of these unassembled bombers were delivered in crates. Of these 33, 13 were broken out from the crates and assembly begun. Of these 13, 7 reached final assembly stages and were considered as flyable. And of these 7, 4 were considered to be the trainer version. So frankly, the Soviets and the Cubans never reached full or operational status or readiness with their offensive bombers on the island of Cuba prior to their being removed. Chairman Khrushchev agreed to dismantle the bombers and remove them from the island on 20 November. The job again of the reconnaissance aircraft was to provide the means, or to be the means, to monitor disassembly of the bombers and to verify the removal of the components from the island. Again, the high-altitude aircraft swept the island. They searched the port areas to determine which ones would be used for the removal of Soviet offensive bombers from the island. They checked the roadways, the railheads. Finally, it was found that the Soviets were moving the bomber fuselages from Hughes to the port of Nuevitas in eastern Cuba. And the bombers that were located at San Julian Airfield in western Cuba were being moved to the port of Mariel. The Soviet ship Kasimov departs Mariel on 5 December with 15 more IL-28 bombers, deck loaded. 11 are in crates, and 4 are under canvas cover at these locations. Gentlemen, these ships, when they reach the area of the quarantine, are inspected by United States naval surface craft and aircraft. Here, in response to a request of the captain of the Soviet ship that he permit inspection and counting of the Soviet bombers, the Soviet captain directs that the crews dismantle on the decks of the ships the shipping crates. The end sections are pulled off, and the top sections are stripped back, exposing the IL-28 fuselage crate. Gentlemen, all 42 bombers observed in Cuba that were later observed deck-loaded on Soviet ships were inspected in this manner, and all 42 of them, some of which were in crates, were fully exposed as they departed Cuba. With regard to the bomber threat, then, 3 Soviet ships, the Okhotsk, Kasimov, and Krasnograd, removed the 42 bombers observed at San Julian and Hughes Airfield from the island of Cuba. The ports selected were Nuevitas and Mariel, and these ships departed Cuba on these particular dates. The Soviets deployed 5 categories of defensive weapon systems on the island beginning sometime in August and September. The air defense systems that were deployed included the surface-to-air missile, known as the SA-2. It also included the high-performance interceptor fighter, known as the MiG-21. Key or critical coastal areas were protected by a coastal defense cruise missile system deployed at 4 known and an additional possible location. In addition, guided missile patrol boats provided a mobile launching capability for anti-shipping work when 12 Komor-class patrol boats were delivered to the island. And finally, Soviet ground forces at 4 locations have also been identified on the island of Cuba, and they, with their equipment, are still found on the island.